All right, hey, we might be live. Let me check and see if the camera is picked up yet or not, or if I'm still just staring at a blank loading screen or not. Looks like a dead loading screen right now. Waiting for the thing to come through. It looks like it might be coming through. All right, we are here. For the thing to come through. Mix. One, two, three. Doing a mic check. Mic check. One, two, three. Mix. One, two, three. Doing a mic check. Mic check. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, cool. So we'll do like that. I'm gonna drop that down there like that. I'm gonna grab the link here for me to be able to post that. I'm up at Acton. I'm going to distract you here with my origin story real quick while I clickety-clack a bunch of buttons. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and I've been running games since 1987, and I've been publishing content on DMsGuild since 2017. And I've been running Eberron as my homebrew campaign since about 2006. But this is the first adventure that I've created on DMsGuild, so I'm happy to put it in the Eberron world. Eberron's an awesome setting. I'll probably end up rambling about it at some point. But the adventure we're creating, Crystals of Mabar. Mabar is the plane of undeath and night and things that go bump in the dark. The Crystals of Mabar, it's for 4 to 5 characters, level 7 to 8. And you're fighting necromancers and undead in the Carnwood, in Karnath, in the continent of Cordiver, on the world of Eberron. And let me fix my screen here real quick. I'm on the X Twitter platform at Phil Kearney. If you want to tag along, you're welcome to do so. Thanks. And like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications of when we are live in the future. We're at episode 290 today, so you can check out the entire playlist of all episodes from the start here. A ton of maps and stuff that we've been making, and we're continuing that process. This is taking a while, and that's obnoxious. Excuse me. But I love the results, so we're just gonna keep doing it. And once it's done, it's we have other we can use all these tokens for other forest maps, so everything else is gonna go a lot quicker moving forward here. But yeah, I like this method that we've been using of working outward, working from the tips and working inward has gone really well so far for making trees. So I'm certainly getting my hours in for practicing new techniques. And thin that down. So I work on these. I have a little bit of time to myself off screen during the week to continue working on this. So I get little steps ahead. This weekend, hopefully this weekend, I'm going to have a lot of opportunity to knock down a bunch of this. And trying to get my my off-screen time, like my early evening time. I'm trying to get that organized so that I'm able to make use of this. My schedule shifted around a little bit over the past couple years. It's making it a little bit more difficult for me to find free time in the evenings. But when we do, we knock down some shrubbery like this. I'd like things to go faster, but they go at the rate that they go, and they cook for the length of time that they cook. You got to get to a certain temperature to be safe meat, you know. I'd love to pull pork at 125 like I can with fish, but it needs to be 165, so it takes a little bit longer, a little more intensity to get it there. Adventures, the pulled pork of production. That's a weird crook we've got going on here. I don't know if I want to support that. That feels better like this though. So let's work our way from the tip back in. I'm here 9 times per week right now. Monday through Friday in the morning like this, we're making token assets and illustrating different maps, creating monster tokens to run around on those maps. The actual text of the adventure is just about done. We finished there's 3 acts, and we finished the 3rd act, and I just finished the appendix on alternate plot hooks and continuing the adventure and like additional complications and all that. So like new campaign ideas, stuff that we talk about here frequently. So I finished that chapter up, and now all I'll need to do is make sure the all the like the magic items and the flora and the fauna, the plant section. There's unique plants that are in this environment. And you're in a zone that is partially merged between the real world of Eberron and the realm of nightmares in Mabar. They co-terminate. They fuse together periodically, like phases of the moon. They come in and out of focus of each other, and that's called a manifest zone. And so this adventure is about a manifest zone being artificially created to specifically terraform the environments that the manifest zone is present in Eberron, Europe. And so because the plane of necromancy and undeath and stuff is going to impact the environment that it co-terminates with in good old forest Eberron. So that forest is going to get rotted out, and it does. And undead creatures are going to rise, which they do. And then so necromancers love this stuff. The material component, the soil turns into crystals, hence the title Crystals of Mabar, and basically dries out and dies like coffee crystals, like Folgers coffee crystals, you know, or like coffee grinds, used coffee grinds. That's just probably a better way of expressing it. That's what the soil becomes, and unusual plants grow from it, but all the normal vegetation dies from this process. So there's a good like 5-mile circle that is all dead forest now. It's obvious. I mean, if you fly up high enough, it's obvious to find. And this fortress sits in the middle of that, zone. But while the manifest zone is active, there's this huge fog that covers the entire region. It's just an unnatural fog that fills the manifest zone that blocks direct sunlight from getting access to the regions inside of the manifest zone, because the realm of darkness would not it's co-terminated. So the world of Eberron influences its expression, so it's not complete darkness, but it has managed to prevent the sun from arriving. So it's not dark, but it's not light either. It's a compromise for the two planes co-terminating. So all the rot from the forest rises up as this necrotic, like miasmic mist that just hangs in the environment above the elevation of the structures that are left intact. They've been neglected in this forest for hundreds of years and been buried by nature. Now that the manifest zone activated, all the vegetation rots away and leaves all the stonework, and so you can see the fortress. And there's a fort that leads down into the underground. Yeah, there's that. So that's stuff. Hey, this tree looks freaking great. I am ecstatic about that. Let's just clean up this interior just a smudge, and we're gonna move on to the next tree. And we're running out of trees to move on next to. We got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and then, well, I guess that's kind of a 5. Then we have all these little vestiges all laying around here. Like once the trees get close enough, they all bunch up into the same foliage canopy. But these trees are separated because this is a woods clearing that the team you can set up for the team to make camp in if they decide to take a long rest in the forest. They'll of course be attacked by undead and other things, but that's kind of what they signed up for. We're gonna stick ourselves out here in the forest. Hope monsters attack us. I was watching Farscape. Third season of Farscape over the weekend. Oh man, Sunday is my day off stream, and I do a lot of binging, TV binging, grocery shopping, light cleaning, stuff like that. It's a you know what? I am changing my mind about. No, I'm gonna leave that. It's a very big branch. That's what my problem is. I don't have enough. I don't have enough material supporting the weight of that branch. So this needs to come out here like that and fill that in. See, it has to have. It's just a much thicker bow to be able to shock absorb this amount of weight compared to like everything else is small. Like this is the dominant branch. It's almost tipping. Should probably bring this out here like that. Really fill this space in. Thank you, Timely Timer. That's my 20-minute timer. I've got an hour of play left. Let's do it like this. Let's go through here. I'm thicken this up a little bit just to add some countering bulk. The tree's too heavy. Said Deadpool over the weekend. That was fun. I would not mind watching all three of them in a row together in succession. See, okay, that feels more balanced now. I feel like I can bring this in a titch, though. That feels a lot more balanced now. Titch. I'm going to pull this one out a little bit. Maybe I'm being a perfectionist. That's my right. It's my art. It's my art. I can be a perfectionist over my art if I want. I had a cool design conversation yesterday with Rel and Hornetico around here. That was really fun. I need to extract that conversation and just post it separately. There's a lot of conversations that we've held here that I need to get serious about making. Like I need to set a, like the reason I can get stuff done with all the books that I do is because I set a regiment schedule of when I am going to be here on stream and work on stuff, as well as time I spend off stream working on stuff. And I have a very a very regimented schedule. And it's that discipline and expectation of performance during that time that I think helps set me up for success in being able to achieve the work that I say I'm going to do. It takes a while, but it gets done. And I've not carved the time that I honestly need to pay to extract the conversations from these streams, because I'd have to edit them and organize them and all the blah that has to get done that I don't currently justify as more important than actual production of the books that I talk about on these streams. But something's starting to flip. I can feel it flipping. And it says you want to make time for doing these, for editing this content and extracting the cool stuff that gets talked about. That feels better. Like all these other ones, like these have pretty big branches, but they're really well balanced. So I think all of them have a little bit of a lean, and I think that's probably natural. Eileen, Ringo gets it. Pull that out a bit, I think. This. And then here, I think this is the last part that I want to pull free. Transform. Do I want to flip that? No, I don't. Fair enough. Enough said. There we go. Hey, it's my team on my home table, the Eberron Spelljammer asteroid belt mining campaign that we are running, or I'm running for my team. My home team is a bunch of coworkers, and we play at lunchtime so for 1 hour a week. So we have a very I've been developing an incredibly fast, loose narrative style role-playing game that has very little crunch to it, and encourages improvisation and just, reaching back into your pocket and pulling out whatever narrative device it is that you happen to need to accomplish the shtick that you're doing. But that game has been coming along great. They finished their third adventure, and it was our first pure combat adventure encounter. We break up the adventure into let me step back real quick and take a drink of water and chase it with a shot of endurance. Almond biscotti flavored coffee. God, it is so good. Okay, so we're now entering the 4th month of my new homebrew campaign. Hey, Rel, it's good to see you. And so we've now gotten into the 4th month, and they've completed their 3rd adventure, and it looks like it takes 2 hours for us to process the technical bits between each adventure. So the way that it's structured is the team, the players own an asteroid belt. Or an asteroid mining operation. It's in the Eberron campaign setting, of course, using Spelljammer as the basis. But it is dwarves, gnomes, and warforged. Warforged don't have to breathe. Gnomes are small, and dwarves know rocks, or in this case, asteroids. So it's a tight flavor pick. There's very few classes, just those 3 classes to keep the palette very limited, and to make the characters a little bit more of a unique feel. The last campaign we ran in a standard 5e campaign, everyone was human. There was only human and no night vision, so that you would have to have a light source while you're in the dungeon to help increase the connection. Like, the problem with dark vision in D&D, like everything having dark vision, is that it takes away ambiance, mood, and emotional threat that the players instinctively understand about being attacked by something in the dark that can see you and you can't see it. That is terrifying. So that everyone gets dark vision destroys that very gut instinct feeling that what's the word I'm looking for? It automatically gets the players more invested in what's going on, because it's such a visceral feeling to not be able to see what's going on around you. So it's I really encourage new DMs to have, like, if you're running your game for your first time, only allow humans. Don't allow endemi races. Keep your stuff very natural to the human experience, so that you aren't job loading yourself with supernatural creatures as the default heroes of the story with strange, unusual powers that, as a new DM, you might not yet feel comfortable building a world around that assumes these things are just true, that they're present and the world is adapted to them accordingly. So the campaign that I'm running, dwarves, gnomes, and warforged. Warforged don't have to breathe, of course. Dwarves are immune to poison, and gnomes can't be charmed. Those are like the three things, because in this game I've limited the palette of what types of damage I'll do. I either just do damage or I poison you, and then there's also psychic damage. So that's basically the only three types of damage that we're distinguishing from each other from a game mechanics perspective. So it's an incredibly limited palette, and 2 of the races have immunity to one of those 2 special types of damage. The dwarves are immune to the poison damage. The gnomes are immune to the charm damage. And then the warforged don't have to eat, sleep, or breathe. So they have an atmospheric condition that they're immune to as well. So, I'm sorry, not the damage, but dwarves can't be poisoned. Gnomes can't be charmed. That's what it is, yeah, because the dwarves can't take poison damage and can't be poisoned. And while gnomes can take psychic damage, they can't be charmed. So you aren't influenced somehow by the effect of the charm, and influencing is like hypnosis eyes and different spell effects, and a lot of flavor text gets expressed as charm as a means of, since it's one of the only conditions that we're using in this particular game, it can have a lot of weight. So it can compel characters to walk off edges of cliffs, and then and then they basically have to catch themselves after the fact to prevent themselves from falling too far. It'll automatically affect you, but you get to save yourself, and it's on that scale of 1 to 10 system, and it's all ability checks. So it's nothing, but all you're doing is rolling d20s and adding a modifier to it as basically a perpetual ability check. Like, are you doing something physical or mental, and which stat do you want to use to do it? And then you have to rotate between your stats. So if I want to do something physical, and I've already done it with strength, I can't do it with strength again until I've also done it with dexterity and constitution. So there's this triad of rotation that the characters are constantly having. Like, they can use any ability score for any skill or effort that they can think of, and you don't have to have a skill to do it. You're just skilled at what you're doing. So we're using a proficiency modifier from the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is you have proficiency in an ability. So like fighters have proficiency in strength and constitution stuff. So whenever you're doing something that you can that you're able to roll strength and constitution, it doesn't matter if you're skilled or not, you get the skill bonus for using those stats on top of the actual ability bonus. So it'd be like at second level, you'd have a +2 proficiency modifier. You add that to whatever your strength bonus is, and anytime you do something strength related, that's the that's like you get like 20 strength would be a +7 at first level. So similarly with this system, you're proficient in pick two, because you have to use them all. So once I use my intelligence, I can't use my intelligence again for a mental task until I've rolled through charisma and wisdom. So I'm going through this rotation of my different stats being able to do different things, and then we group them. Charisma and strength are considered power. Dexterity and intelligence are considered skill, and wisdom and constitution are considered grit. So once you use power once, you can't use it again until you use either grit, until you've used both grit and skill. So like if I use strength for a physical task, I can't use charisma for a mental task, but I'll rotate through all three of those aspects every 3 turns. All of them will refresh. And so each character goes in order. That's our initiative order is just randomly rolled, and then we keep that same initiative order the entire game. So everyone on the team gets to take a turn, and then the world turns. And that's how we call it, the world turns, because the world has a turn, hence the title. I'm done with this tree, so I'm going to move on to the next one and keep rambling. But give me a second to catch up on what's going on over here. Say, gnomes can be charmed. They just have advantage on all. So in this particular game that I'm building, that's how we narrate them. They're immune to charm. If I were to build a different campaign with this game, I might make, like, say, I might make, boy, what's another condition? Like, stun could be a really big condition. And then like, maybe we have a, like a Dragonborn, like maybe we have a campaign that's like of the races that are allowed, we include Dragonborn next time, and maybe Dragonborns can't be stunned and are immune to fear effects, and like maybe we make fear and stunning the big things that can happen to your characters, and that's it. So you can take damage, you can be frightened, or you can be stunned, and sometimes all 3 things at the same time, but. Like Dragonborn would be immune to the stunning condition. No, Dragonborn would be immune to the fear condition. And then, I don't know. Let's say we have one of the core races. So Dragonborn, Changelings, and Shifters. Maybe we do that. We have like an Eldeen Reach campaign where those are the 3 races that you can be. And the shapeshifters are immune to stun. The Dragonborn are immune to fear, and the shifters. What would be the unique feature that the shifters would have? They can't be polymorphed. They can't be unwillingly polymorphed. So the 3 things in this campaign that we would include in this example is stunning, frightened effects, and being churned into something else, like mutations, or like a polymorph, or being cursed to take on other forms. Maybe that's maybe we build a campaign around witches and hags that when you scrap with them, they could turn you into a different type of into a different shape. Who knows? I'm just making shit up as we go. But this is the creation process that we go through to build a campaign. So with this system, it's nothing but ability checks, and the characters are vastly simplified. And you have nothing but ability checks, so you're rotating through. So instead of having specific skills that the characters know, and each of those skills is dedicated to a specific ability, we can keep the 6 abilities that people instinctively know from all the video games and D&D over the past 50 years, and stick with the 6 stats that we know, but then group them into three aspects of your character's stats. So we call them aspects and then stats inside of the aspects. So you rotate between the 3 aspects, and then you get a kicker die every time you finish rotation and all of your aspects refresh. You also get an added die. Right now it's a D6. It'll eventually be a D12. But and it's called the effort die. So you can roll that die once per stat rotation because you're putting additional effort into that specific task. I'm going to spend my effort and try to lift this lift this rock above my head or something like that. Okay, great. How do you want to do that? I'm going to use my skill roll. So I'm going to use my dexterity modifier. I'm going to lift this rock with skill. And so, and I'm going to do that because I know how to properly leverage my body, bend at the knees, start to roll it up a little bit using my power lifting, and then to be able to hunch it up, I have the technique needed to use my body's mass as leverage to pull up the rock. And then all I have to do is get the heft underneath me, and then I can lift it up. Like, that is a way that you can describe how you're using skill to lift a rock as opposed to power. Your strength roll, which is, I'm just strong enough, I can just grab it and lift it. I'm powerful. And then it's like, okay, great. Or if you use the constitution modifier, the grit, is that I can just I'm going to make a little bit of progress as long as I can keep exerting effort. So I am just going to struggle and stubborn my way into lifting the rock. Great, roll your constitution. Like, that's how you can rotate between the different stats. But every time you rotate through them, you could then say, I have my effort die, I'm going to apply effort. So like if it's a strength check, you get that +7 we were talking about earlier. And right now the team has a plus D6. So when they roll with effort, they roll the extra D6 and add that to the result as well. And then the difficulties on a scale of 1 to 10. And so a difficulty of 1 is a 3. So a difficulty of 0 is 0. And then 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. 30 is a difficulty of 10. And you want to beat the result. So on a scale of 1 to 10, this task is a difficulty of, like, say lifting that rock is a difficulty of 3. All I have to do is roll a 9. God damn it. But the only stat I have right now is only a +2. So I have to actually roll a 7 or better on that D20, and I don't have any effort right now. There's like a 1 in 3 chance I can't lift that fucking rock. Like, and this is a constant problem that the team has. And they have no idea what they want to do next. And they have no idea what stat they're going to have available to them when they want to do it. So, like, they have to, like, every time they take an action, I update what's going on. It's like, okay, great, you lift the rock. Underneath it, there is a swarm of fire ants, and they're now starting to flood your legs. You're now getting ants crawling over. Do you want to drop the rock and deal with them, or how do you want to do this? And so now they're being swarmed by fire ants, and they want to drop the rock and get free of the fire ants. That's the world taking a turn against the team. Or if you failed lifting the rock, like if you actually failed the die roll, but I want you to be able to lift the rock, then yeah, you lift the rock, congratulations, but a complication occurs because you failed the die roll. So you'll either not be able to accomplish the task, or you will accomplish the task, but with complications based on what the DM wants to do. Like the direction that the DM wants to take the narrative. So if it's something that somebody should be able to do, but you're requiring it with effort, is because there's a risk involved with it, and the player knows that going into it. It should just be a normal task, and if it's not a particularly, like if it's a default no difficulty task, you can just say, yeah, you accomplished that thing, you lift the rock. It's not a big issue. But if the rock is supposed to be part of a challenge, the DM at any time can say, yeah, make a check against that. And then whatever aspects of your character are available right now, like, well, I want to lift the rock. I have power available right now, which is great, and I want to use it because it's the only one I have left. When I make my strength roll and all of my aspects refresh, and I get my effort die back. And then you have things that you get free effort with. Like whenever a Warforged character is interacting with an object, like picking a lock, deciphering how to use a piece of an artifact, stuff like that. You can even say, like, I'm modifying their gun to make a particularly tight beam force shot to be able to target somebody that's partially hiding behind crates. They're going to fiddle with their weapon to try to get a tighter beam so that they can hit them with the cantrip gun that they're firing. They would then be able to justify that would be considered interacting with an object, and whenever they interact with an object, they get free effort. So they can if they can justify, I'm going to use a piece of machinery, or I am specifically attempting a task involving a piece of machinery, I can get effort and not have to spend my effort die because I'm going to get free effort. So the characters want free effort, so they're going to shape the narrative. Even though I can't control what stat I'm going to use, I might be able to roll with effort for free because I'm explaining how I'm leaning into my character. And then you have there's observing. There's nouns, right? There's persons, places, and things. And so you can observe persons, places, and things, and you can interact with persons, places, and things. And I did that wrong. The Warforged character would be able to observe objects with effort for free, and the Artificer character type, the class of Artificer, gets free effort when interacting with objects. So a Warforged Artificer can both observe and make deductions about equipment with free effort, and can manipulate and use those objects with free effort. While a gnome is that way for persons, and dwarves are that way with places. Dwarves are known for being able to understand being underneath Earth. There is an asteroid campaign, so when a dwarf is on an asteroid at any time, you could ask about the environment, the rock, the ore content, whatever you want to ask about the asteroid, or if you can find a way to make what you're doing be about the asteroid, then you can do so with free effort. So dwarves are really useful to have when you're actually on an asteroid doing stuff. Warforged are really useful when you're flying around in a fighter craft, fighting monsters in space with your Spelljammer fighter craft, because that's always an object that you're interacting with. And gnomes are really great when you're actually dealing with a monster, because you can always attack it with effort, or you can attempt to modify its opinion or like negotiate with it, because gnomes always get free effort when you're observing creatures or people. And the diplomat character, I guess like the bard, we call them diplomats, but it would be like the bard would always get free effort to interact with creatures and people. Like if I want to influence you, I get free effort. So that way you can, by leaning into what your class and race are, you can observe and interact with the different aspects of nouns, persons, places, and things. You can narrate what you're doing. I am lifting this rock. I'm using it as an environmental interaction with my skill. And so I've chosen to have proficiency with skill. It is an object interaction, says the Warforged, or it's an environment interaction, says the dwarf, or I'm just shit out of luck. I'm going to have to spend my own effort to do this, says my gnome. Or the gnome says, fuck it. Let's just try to get this done without spending effort. And it's the gnome that gets swarmed with the fire ants because he failed the check. but I wasn't going to not let him lift the rock because I wanted him to find the fire ants underneath it. So that's narrative design, and the system has the fail state of you can't do the task, like you miss your target when you shoot at it. But for the most part, what I want to do as a narrative DM is lean into yes but as much as you can. Like if they fail the task, allow them to succeed the task enough to continue on with what they were thinking about doing, but you add a complication. Yeah, you're able to lift that rock up, but the fire ants, you're gonna have to deal with those. Do you want to drop the rock, or you don't, or do you want to deal with the ants? It's like, oh. So you can make, like, if you don't deal with the ants properly, you're gonna take damage either by taking bites from the ant or dropping the rock on your head. And now you have to get the rock again and eat up, and that'll eat up because you have movement and you have something that you can use with effort. A task. You're either moving or performing a task, and so like if you failed the fire ant check, the consequence is that the rock falls on your head. You know you can pick it up, so I'm going to let you just pick it up again, but it's going to use your movement that turn to pick up the rock. Like I can use that like small action for like picking up something that you should be able to pick up, opening a door. Pulling an object out of your backpack, like these little minor actions, or move a distance. And then we don't have specific movement. We have within reach, close, like within the same room, and far, which is like I wouldn't be able to throw a dagger at you if you're far away, and I would have to use my my entire turn to move to a position that's far away. But otherwise, I can move someplace close, or I'm already within reach of whatever it is that is. So reach, close, and far. Far will eat up all of my action, and close will eat up just my movement and leave my action available. So I have those basically 3 degrees of distance to interact with stuff. And if you're in a fighter ship as opposed to on the foot, that distance is going to change. Reach is still within melee reach of your ship's weapon, but far is the range that you can fly within 1 round, which is like 10,000 miles at maximum speed. And then far is beyond, and then far is beyond that reach, beyond that range. And you can fire ranged weapons at anything that's within close range of you. You can only attack things with ship melee weapons because you're basically using transformable robot ships to fly around as your super soldier. The Warforged basically jack into these fighter craft, these 25-foot fighter craft that can transform into giant robots. Right? They tuck in their legs and their arms, and now they look like ships. And then they unfurl their legs and arms, and they have hands, and they pull out equipment from their base storage inside their belly, and now they have a shield and a sword that's 10 feet long. And they battle giant monsters in space. They were fighting space squids. In this last adventure, they were fighting giant space squids that they're octopus. They could camouflage themselves as asteroids amongst the asteroids, and they were out hunting for food, and the team caught wind of them and attacked them because they were hunting the miners that were on the asteroids that were in their territory. So the fighter craft are out there looking for threats like this that will attack the miners. For the most part, the miners are just on the outside surface of the asteroid, breaking down rocks and then dumping them into the ship that's tethered to the asteroid. Is that here? So the team has a number of territories. They have 6 territories now, and each territory has a mining crew, and each territory needs to be defended. And the team, the players can only do one task at a time. So what happens is every 10 days, the team has one adventure, and every 10 days, the mining operation cashes in the ore that it's extracted from the asteroids to gain resources that are then spent to do things. And those things can be either like to create to hire a new adventuring team. Like if your team dies, you have to hire a new team. And so the team's only lost one play. We've only lost one character so far. And when you lose a character, it costs you a point of resources. So right now, they can typically extract around 10 points of resources every 10 days. And that'll escalate as they continue gaining more territories and their skills, their ability, their guild's ability, using ability checks, ability to effectively extract ore from these rocks. As the organization gets larger, they'll get better at doing that. They'll be able to get more resources per rock, and so they'll accumulate more and more resources. But to get better, like an experience point system, they'll have to spend more and more they'll have to invest more and more resources into making their ability checks better. So you start at first rank. There's four industries, which are the four quote unquote abilities scores that the guild has. It has a commerce score for for extracting rocks and selling the ore and making acquisitions. There is a lore industry, which is involved with espionage, research, and clairvoyant scrying. Because the clairvoyant scryers are using magic. They're using magic crystal balls and orrery stations to scry with their telepathy and their psychic vision, the clairvoyance, out into space to scout asteroids. So they're using their precognition abilities to find asteroids floating in their territory and sending mining crews there to verify that there's good ore there. So you make an ability check for each territory every 10 days to observe if there are asteroids that are worth mining in that area. And it's typically on a 1 in 10 chance, there's no useful asteroid in your area and it's a dud. But the other 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be some sort of a metal: copper, electrum, silver, gold, platinum, Bieshk, adamantine, mithril, or dragon shard crystals. And these all have a different point value on a scale of 1 to 5, and different levels and different difficulties to be able to mine. Like copper is the cheapest of useful ore. It's on a scale of 1 to 10, it is a 1. And so it only takes it starts at 1 is 0 is rock, 1 is copper, and then it scales through 10 different materials. And so copper is a 1, so it only requires a 3, but you only get 1 point of resources for it. And if you somehow fail that die roll, you could spend a point of resources to re-roll, but why would you? Because it's just a wash, and you could fail again and lose that point of re-roll. So you can store up resources specifically to spend on the guild making re-rolls. And when you run out of resources, you run out of re-rolls. But you also have to spend those resources to, like I said, hire a new team, or if you want the XCOM computer games, that you build little teams to go fight missions, and then you spec them out with the different equipment and abilities that you've acquired with experience over time by completing XCOM missions. You gain more and more things. Like the team has stealth boots now. So if they want the whole team to be equipped with stealth boots, they have to spend a resource to requisition that equipment for this adventure. So the team, like healing potions, to be able to heal yourself if you take damage, that requires a point of resources. So every time they send an adventuring team out to perform a mission, they're investing resources into that team's gear to accomplish a task. And if they ever find themselves without any resources left over, they can't. Their team the team is what it is, and they don't have any additional resources, magic items, or healing salves or potions to be able to help the team persevere. So they could end up getting murked really, really easily if they don't have any support magic items. So they're in the process of researching with lore, their lore industry. They're spending, they can at second rank right now, they can research 2 items every 10 days. And then they add it to their inventory of things that they can pay for their team to have access to during the next adventure. So they have stealth boots. Right now, they're researching different these bugs that they found in one of the asteroids. It was hollow inside, and they found these bugs inside of there, and the bugs were able to dissolve stone. So, like, if we can learn how to train these bugs to work for our mining organization, we can shift away from having to break up rocks with hammers and stuff, and we can just put a bunch of bugs on a rock and let them just eat the rock and leave then we can just go by and just pick up the ore. So we need to train the bugs. So they're currently researching that, and that'll use the loyalty industry instead of the commerce industry. So there's the commerce industry, which is ore extraction with rock and selling the ore to gain resources, and then there's the lore industry, which is again scrying as well as performing research. It also oversees espionage, learning things that your character shouldn't be able to know, spying on things and stuff like that. That's lore. Technically, it's just the dark side of gathering lore, surveillance, and then the final industry is military. Oh no, there's lore. There's loyalty, which is like HR. These bugs, for instance, they're trying to train these bugs to eat rock for them. That would, instead of being commerce and hiring miners, it would be loyalty successfully training the bugs. Loyalty is also like if there's a labor dispute with the miners, or bug handlers, as the case may be. If there's a mutiny or a strike, then it would require a loyalty check to resolve. The last adventure, when they were fighting squids, the mining union that they work with was concerned that there was elves in the area recently, and that there might be other hostile forces present, and that they might actually be at risk right now. So they were unwilling to mine a territory, and the team had the choice of either making it a diplomacy-based mission of actually negotiating and discovering potential plot hooks and adventure options for their characters while negotiating with the Union to find out other potential problems that they could go in and resolve themselves in espionage, military, or delving missions. Or they could choose military, and they chose military, which meant that they would then patrol the region and keep it safe from monsters and elves so that the miners would feel safe to perform the task of extracting ore. So naturally, since they chose a military mission, there was a military threat in the form of giant space octopus that wanted to eat all the dwarves. So the team were fighting space squids in space before, and their goal was to kill the squids before they got to the miners. And the squids' goal was to get to the miners before and eat them, or get a meal before these fucking spaceship kill me. So it was a hunt or be hunted sort of affair, and the team lost one of their characters. They had a death, but otherwise they were able to defeat the space squids and keep the miners safe. But they had to do it stealthily. If they got within a certain range of the asteroid, they would notice that there's monsters, and then they would immediately strike because you're attempting to deceive them by not telling them there was a threat so that they could get away, because you were prioritizing profits over the safety of the miners. So that would have led, if they had not been able to kill the squids fast enough to remove them before they got within reach of the miners, they would have failed that mission. Even if they killed the squids, they would have failed the mission of keeping them safe. So then that would trigger a new required diplomacy mission to then negotiate with the mining guild to get them to come back to work. And that would create like an interrogation and exploration of ideas and working conditions. And yeah, we have this problem, and here's somebody that's been griefing us, and yeah, we're willing to come back to work, but we want you to get this thing for us, like a MacGuffin quest, stuff like that. But they didn't choose that, and they succeeded at the military test, so they were able to sidestep that diplomacy mission. But it's something that they're aware that they can do, and they haven't ran a diplomacy mission yet. So far they've ran 2 delving missions and 1 military fighter craft mission, and now we're starting our 4th sortie, our 4th 10-day. They gathered resources, collected another territory, began researching new stuff. and the scry, the clairvoyance, they detected in the 6 territories that they had, there's 3 unclear conditions. So what'll happen is you make your ability check, you make your lore check, your lore ability check against the difficulty of the ore that you're wanting to mine. Copper doesn't give many resources, but it's also very easy to succeed in the scry check to see if it's a difficulty of, like, say, only a 3 to extract copper. It's also only a roll of 3 to determine if there's a threat in the area. So copper doesn't give you many resources, but it's pretty much guaranteed not to give you any problems either. You can just reliably gain 1 resource from copper. It's just, there it is. It's highly unlikely you're going to fail. So it's cheap, but it's easy. So you take it. You get the point. There you go. Add it to your collection. And but as you get, like, platinum has a difficulty of 19. So like it like you have a high chance of failure because they're rolling a d20 plus 2 plus d6. They're averaging a die roll of 16, which is a failure. So they're more likely than not going to fail at confirming. Like, if you fail your lore your search check with the lore roll, if you fail the check, it means that there's a complication there. If you succeed the check, it means that you've been able to successfully scout the area and determine that there are no threats. If you fail the die roll, either you can't tell what's out there because your vision's too muddled, or you can confirm there is a threat out there that needs to be dealt with, and then the DM presents what that threat is. And so there's 3 threats currently. Either we haven't determined yet, but it's either unknown, like we don't know what's out there, or we know for a fact there's a threat out there. But there's 3 problems that the team currently has to deal with, but the players can only deal with one of them directly with their characters. So they might make a new team of characters to deal with a new unique threat, or they could take characters that already exist, that have already gained experience, to go deal with a threat as veterans. But if they get killed, they lose those characters and have to start their characters over. So they have multiple adventuring teams at this point that they send out on different missions to perform different tasks. And so they have a military team that are fighter pilots in flying Spelljammer mecha ships. And then you have the delving team that goes into asteroids to, like, if there's a monster in there, go kill the monster, or like if there's like weird plants, or like there's a weird smell of gas in there, what's going on? They send the delving team in to investigate it, and they decide whether it's safe or not. So that they've had 2 delving missions to determine safety, and they've had 1 military combat mission so far. And once we determine what the complications are for the 3 territories that have a complication, once we determine what those complications are, they decide which one they specifically themselves want to make an adventure out of it. And that becomes their adventure, their next episodic adventure. And whether they succeed at the task or not, if you succeed at the task, you open up that territory to then become harvested with materials. If you fail the task, the resources accumulate, but the threat escalates. So you have to approach it in a different way. If you fail at delving, you have to figure out a different way, either a military, espionage, or diplomacy mission to try to recover the resources. Because you weren't able to delve out of it, you weren't able to military out of it. This is your 3rd go. You've got 30 days worth of accumulated resources that you can collect, but you can only mine it. You can only gather that material while it's in your territories, and every 10 days, all the materials move. They're in orbit around the planet, so they shift. The territories don't move with the planet. The territories are static, and the asteroids are in orbit around the planet. So like you've got like 30 days with 3 territories. They've got 30 days to mine an asteroid before it leaves their territory into somebody else's territory. It comes in from someone else's territory, it moves through your territory, and then it moves into somebody else's territory. So they have 30 days to work on a rock. From this territory, 10 days, this territory, 10 days, this territory, 10 days, and then it's gone. So whenever a new rock comes into their territory, it has anywhere from 5 to 50% of the rock remaining. And so they have to roll it on their ability check. If they can roll up to a 50, they completely exhaust the asteroid of all worth, and it becomes empty. Sometimes they'll get an asteroid that only has, What is that? 7:40. Okay. I need to start a new alarm for 8 o'clock. There, I've got 20 minutes left. So as these asteroids come into their territory, it's obviously already been worked on by other mining guilds. So you're only getting their scraps, and eventually, the next guy, they're getting your scraps. But there's more asteroids coming into orbit all the time because the planet gravity is pulling these rocks towards the planet. So you need to have mining operations out there breaking up the rocks. Otherwise, there'll constantly be asteroids hitting the planet. So you're actually out there protecting the planet by breaking down the rocks and removing them from orbit. It just happens that you're rewarded by doing so because they're all filled with precious metals. So you want to be up there, and you're incentivized to protect the planet. But you have to, the goal is to reduce all territories to 0% before they hit the planet. And as long as you can get them underneath 10%, you're pretty much safe. But if a rock gets through, that's so it'll do a full rotate, it'll do a full orbit around the planet, and then it drops to the Earth, and it swirls in. So things from the outside swirl inward, so it's like a giant spiral, and it spirals through your territory. So you buy spots in this spiral to be able to have a team to mine the resources there. That's how you gather resources. And when you gather resources, you can then spend some of them to purchase the mining license for that particular territory. So there's this big spiral of different materials that's constantly moving around the planet. And as it gets down to the very closest, like right at the atmosphere, it needs to have been broken down to only 10% of that territory is left. So that when it hits the atmosphere, it burns up and it doesn't hurt anybody. So that is your job, to prevent landfalls. And so occasionally there'll be a rock in your territory. It's like, this is just dead rock, but we still got to break it down. Otherwise, we'll lose our territory. So if you fail to destroy rocks, if you let a rock through your territory, that's landfalling. You have to destroy that rock. Otherwise, you lose that territory, and they give it to somebody else who will be more competent at managing it. So you're at a very high risk reward. The team can actually lose all of their territories, and if they do, they have to subcontract themselves to another organization that has control of territories. And then the team has to start using their loyalty industry to start carving out space inside of that other guild to claim their own little subcontracted territory, and then pay a point of resources for each territory that they've now subcontracted from their now parent organization. And they can eventually buy those territories from the organization that they're subservient to, and eventually break free and become their own franchise again. So for now, they don't have any tax. But if they fail and lose control of all their territories, then they will have to pay a tax until they can earn their way out of that tax and regain their own territories through other organizations' incompetence. Occasionally, a territory opens up for sale, and if the team has enough resources to buy it, they can. And they can then expand their resources, they expand their territories. And they have 6. They started with 3. They now have 6. And all the close orbits are done. So now they have to buy territories that are further away from orbit, and they're more expensive to maintain. So they cost more to acquire. But the further out you are, the newer the rocks are. They have a higher percentage, and they have a more exotic metal. So because the really, like, platinum and adamantium and mithril are hard to dig through, but they have a lot of, like, 5 times the amount of resources than copper does. So it's worth. So you want to send mining teams out as far away as you can to get these deep orbit rocks that are still untouched and full, and are all the best stuff hasn't even been seen yet. That's the catchphrase used to maintain morale, is the best. We haven't even seen the best yet. And they haven't even seen an adamantium stone yet. It's too high. It's too high of a rank. It's too high of a difficulty for the close orbit that they can afford right now. But as they continue growing, they'll be able to afford to purchase deeper orbits with larger mining operations with a higher rank in their commerce industry. So you see how that works? Since their commerce industry is only second rank, they can't support a territory that's more than two spirals away. So different tiers of orbit. So they have to get their mining industry, they have to get their commerce industry up to third rank, which will cost them 9 points to do. So it's going to be super. They can't afford it yet. So they're kind of right now in their current orbit, attempting to accumulate enough resources to be able to expand their commerce, so they can expand their territories. So it's very 4X civilization sort of mini game that is designed to generate. It's there to generate adventures by creating complications, and so there's 3 complications currently. Like Space Squids was a complication. There were these rock-eating bugs inside of another asteroid. They spent 2 missions. The first one was confirming that they were non-hostile and that the team, that the mining operations could continue work, so they did. And then the next mission was, hey, if we go back in there, we can maybe get some bugs and learn how to raise and train them and make them ours. So they chose that as an optional mission. They neglected all the actual threats to their territories. In exchange, they went bug hunting, and they use a delving team to capture bugs, to take them back to their research facility to learn how to make these bugs useful for them as a resource, or as a tool that they could add to the repertoire of gathering resources. So that was their own chosen mission. That was the second mission, and then the third mission was the Space Squid problem, because they didn't want to deal with they just didn't want to do diplomacy. They wanted to do combat. So it's like, yeah, we want to do fighter craft, but they'll eventually get themselves into a diplomacy mission. And then we did the updates, and then new asteroids rotated into their territories. So we did the lore check, and they failed 3 lore checks. So that means that there's 3 complications or unknown variables that need to be investigated. And so my job during my downtime as the DM is to determine what those 3 complications are. And then on Monday, when we get back together to play again, I'll present what those complications are, and then they get to decide for themselves which one do they personally want to pursue. And then the other 2 will just be resolved with a single industry ability check, and if the checks succeed, then congratulations, you resolved the problem, go get your ore. If the guild passive roll fails, then the complication increases, and they'll have to choose a different angle of resolution. Like if it was a delving mission originally, well, now it's become either a military or an espionage mission. Choose accordingly, and they could either at that point build a new they could build an espionage team at that point, and then run an espionage adventure next. That would be adventure 5, for instance. But if a threat continues and it doesn't get resolved by the time it moves out of orbit, you just completely lost that 1/6 of your resources this cycle. So like they need to resolve those tasks. So they're either choosing something that sounds most interesting or most important. So that's how they determine what kind of mission they go on. But this is a whole new game that we designed. And we've been playing it for 4 months. We designed it in a month. I have a separate stream on the Eberron Spelljammer campaign, explaining how that campaign was built, how those mechanics work, and we continue to play test them to develop the rules, to figure out, like, we didn't know initially that like you would have to have 3rd rank in commerce to be able to claim territory in a third ring orbit. That's just, these are little rules that evolve over time as we develop the campaign. So we're basically building this as an asteroid mining fantasy campaign setting. And the rules can remain the same, but we can do something for the Wild West, or we could do like an Arkham Horror, Call of Cthulhu type thing. Or each campaign can be different. It would have different rules set up for how different industries work. So you have to determine what is, like, if you're doing like a Cthulhu horror, you like lore could be your ability to discover ancient secrets. there wouldn't be a military industry. So you'd be running like a private like you'd be running Ghostbusters as a business, and so like your military stat could be how well you can bust ghosts, but your lore industry would be about your ability to research what the monsters are, and then you could have the diplomacy team would be good at like speaking with the dead, communing with the afterlife, being able to analyze what this poltergeist is attempting to do in this area that they're haunting. Do we just want to go in it with our guns blazing, or do we want to try to negotiate and put the poltergeist at rest? But we could easily build a Ghostbusters campaign with mechanics of this game. But we currently, I don't know how to standardize that. We're learning the rules of industry. Like, how can we standardize these things? And is there a consistent way, or does it have to be couture design each time with the different industries and the narrative of the industry? So I'd have to build different campaign settings, like a Ghostbuster campaign, the Asteroid Belt mining campaign, a Wild West campaign. These would be different campaign books, almost like in a Rifts sort of way. Like I could do a Rifts campaign with this. And then we could introduce different types of characters and technologies and stuff through the Rift system. But this tree is almost done. We're making good progress today, man. So I've been on a real ramble tear here today, but I've been thinking about, because we just did the update. Basically, it takes about 4 weeks to complete an adventure. So it's 1 month during an adventure, and then it takes 2 weeks to resolve the guild activities, and then to decide how you're spending your resources and what your next adventure is going to be. And then the following week and for the next 4 weeks, we run that adventure, and then they either succeed or fail, and then results escalate from there. But it's just a campaign. We're building a campaign out of gaining resources and spending the resources to become more proficient at what we do, which allows us to take on greater challenges, which provides more resources, but has greater complications that higher level characters are capable of resolving, and blah, 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 every video game, every role-playing game you've ever played. But we've built an entire brand new role-playing game from ability checks that exists in this space. Like if you were to have Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, and Numenera or Cypher system. Like this game exists in a space between those 3 different role-playing games. And consequently, you could use this role-playing game that I built as a means of framing your own Numenera, Pathfinder, or Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It's just when you go into, like when your team chooses their adventure, pardon the pun, then you shift gears into, okay, we're now playing a 5th edition dungeon crawl. We're going to do this Ghostbusters mission, right, with 5th edition characters, and so we have our Warlock and our Bard, and our Barbarian of the Ancestors, and we're going to narrate around ghost themed or like spirit themed stuff. So like maybe we'd have a Druid, a Bard, a Druid, a Warlock, and a Barbarian of the Ancient of Ancestors, right? So like that would be your 4-man D&D team to go fight poltergeists and demons and ghosts and stuff like that. And that would be your D&D game. Or you could do the same thing with Pathfinder, with like an Inquisitor and like a champion or whatever. A Witch would be an obvious choice in Pathfinder. And then like a Numenera, you just build a custom character. I'm going to build a tough brute that ain't afraid of no ghosts. That's how, like, that'd be a description of your character using the descriptor method from Cypher system. Or like I'm a genius artificer that creates ghost busting technology. Like that would be your descriptor for the Cypher system Ghostbuster game. And then you just play Cypher system. It'd just be an adventure. But then every time you complete an adventure, you go back to this guild system that just rolls d20s as ability checks. Cypher system, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, as well as like Mutants and Masterminds, all use ability checks using the D. They're all D20 games. They all use the D20 like the Essence 20 system. G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, Power Rangers. They all use the D20 ability score system, and all this is just ability checks. You can run entire adventures off of just ability checks, or you could limit the system to just the guild, the guild system of randomizing adventures, and build a guild campaign using whatever 5th edition, whatever D20 game you like most. 5th edition, 4th edition, 3rd edition, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder 1 or 2, Starfinder 1 or 2, Numenera or any Cypher system game, Mutants and Masterminds. What's some other? Call of Cthulhu 3rd edition D20 would work. Dragonflight's Dragonstar would work. Any D20 game, the Avatar: The Last Airbender has a D20 version, I think. Like all those games would work using this system and this system would basically be the campaign structure that frames how you build adventures episodically, and it's every 10 days you have another adventure. So whatever the team choose, like that military mission, it only took 1 day for the characters to succeed, but it was narrated as of the 10 days, and then I made a die roll. On the 3rd day, you find squids, and once they defeated the squids, the adventure was over. The 10 days resolved, and now we move on to the next adventure in the next 10 days. So in the higher, like in D&D, like if you had 15th level characters, you could decide that there's only one adventure every 100 days. Because of the level of power that the characters deal with. So we're just going to do downtime activities for the next 100 days. We're going to do a resource gather, update our guild, our kingdom that we're in control of, and find out what the next 15th level adventure complication is for our team to pursue. Oh, crap. There's a whole herd of wyverns that are moving into the territory, and now our dwarf allies are complaining that they can't get to the surface without being attacked by wyverns. Better go kill off the wyverns. That becomes your 15th level adventure. So, hey, what's up? No, that's fine. Avatar. It's just they all thank you for the confirmation. But yeah, this is something that we've been developing, and the royal we, of course, that means me. But this is the game that I've been running with my home table, my weekly home table. So I've got you and other people on my playtest table that runs once a week, but my home table, I've been running them for 6 years. So this is the 6th year that we've been playing. So it's a pretty great team, and they love the stuff that I put together. So they let me experiment and play with stuff. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about a whole new role-playing game to do this thing. Will you play with me? And they're like, yeah, of course we will. And this is where we've gotten. So far, really fun. It's turning out to be a really good system. So I'm going to finish up the Color Mana system stuff that I'm doing, the Spelljammer work that I'm working on, this Eberron adventure that we're working on. But from there, I'm probably then going to start thinking about a Kickstarter project to make this game happen. And hopefully by the time I get there, it'll be another year, so there'll be plenty of time for us to do playtesting with this to see how it works. My Curse of Strahd game on Saturday, they've agreed that if we have anyone cancel from the Curse of Strahd, instead of canceling the game, because we require 100% participation for the Curse of Strahd game, but so instead of just like canceling the game, if someone doesn't show, they're gonna also build. I think we're gonna do a Wild West campaign using this new game that I've been building. They are willing to play test it with me as well. So, but it'll only be, the substitute game, which is great because it'll be very low effort on my part. It'll be something that's just going to percolate in the background, and since those are 4-hour games, I'll be able to complete one adventure every session, and then the next time that somebody doesn't show up, well, okay, great, well, or like we could set up like downtime, like in a Discord channel, we can just chat about, hey, how do you guys want to spend your resources? What do you want to do next? And the next time somebody doesn't show up, we're ready to go. And since it's such an easy drop-in, drop-out episodic adventure, and your characters are expected to die, all you have to do is roll 6 stats, and you're ready to go. And you have a new character, and you're in the mix again. Let's go. fast, takes 2 minutes to make a character. And then you're back in the team and you're doing stuff. So you can have, it doesn't matter who shows up, as long as people show up, we can do stuff. Oh shit, it's 8 o'clock. Okay, well, that's it for today. I got to go for now. I'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to continue working on trees, and I'm going to continue talking about game design and different ideas like this. And so, Ralph, thanks for hanging out with me. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll be back tomorrow night to work on more Spelljammer stuff. We'll be back Friday morning. And then we'll be back Saturday morning. And then we've got our playtest session Monday night, but we'll be back Monday morning as well. So that's it for everything. I'm out of here. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Laters.